Crash Bandicoot fans have just been handed possibly the biggest slap in the face, and Activision needs to know that this is not okay. Let's get into it. So the pre-orders for Crash Team Rumble have began today, and Canadian Guy A posted a video where he got to talk to Toys for Bob in depth and experience some of the game. He got to ask them questions and see a lot of gameplay and showed us that gameplay as well, and it does look like a fun game. However, something that stuck out to me the most, when asked if there would be single player, they said there will not be single player at launch and they plan to add it in the future. As well as from the other things that he had talked about in his video, it's really sounding like this game is going to be online multiplayer only with tons of microtransactions and still costs $30. That's just for the basic edition. There's also a deluxe edition for $40. The microtransactions seem to be for like additional gameplay or events and things in the game that only paid members can experience, as well as different skins, etc, etc. But for there to not even be an option at launch for single player is insane to me. No pun intended. They did say that they plan to add it in the future, but I don't feel comfortable going just off of plans because I've seen with too many games that not happen. I know it's a different company, but even Crash on the Run recently, they had went off for a while, stop adding new content and said that they were going to come back in full swing in October or whatever it is that they said. And then the entire game shut down and is unplayable now. So forgive me if I don't feel comfortable just going off of the promise that we are going to get a single player mode and buying this game on release day. I mostly prefer to play games in single player mode by myself. However, I am okay with online play here and there, and I am well aware that gamers like myself who prefer single player are becoming the minority this day and age, if we aren't already. Online is really thriving and people love it, with games like Fortnite and Grand Theft Auto going for years and years and years off of just their online modes. And that's great and all, but I still just cannot fathom paying for a game that will most likely be unplayable in a few years if they don't follow through on the promise of single player. And that single player also needs to be available to be played offline so it doesn't end up like Crash on the Run being completely unplayable whenever their servers go off. It's only been 3.5 years since the release of Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, and already it is extremely difficult to find a lobby to play with online, and near impossible to find a full lobby of 8 online. And this was a game that was filled with nostalgia, and that fueled one of the main reasons for its success. But Crash Team Rumble is a brand new game that a majority of us have no clue what it's even about yet, relying on 4 versus 4 teams, meaning it needs 8 players. And coming out the gates relying on that, I hope to God they at least have implemented some kind of AI in case there's not a full lobby, but that's not even been confirmed yet. Even at launch, I didn't always get a full party of 8 when trying to play Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled online. And this game is built around that? Like, what are they thinking? But overall, the entire point here is that this is not what a Crash game should be. This sounds like another money-making scheme from Activision. Being just 3.5 years ago, we got a great multiplayer game for the same price, with microtransactions being entirely optional, and not to mention way more content in that game. So we cannot let them think that it is okay to give us what seems like an unfinished game, at least at that price point. This would be fine for a free-to-play if they're trying to go into the Fortnite-style game for Crash. But for a game that costs money, this is not a finished game. Some people have been saying that this seems like it should be an add-on to Crash 4, and I completely agree. Even with single-player, $30 sounds like a steep price point to this unless they add an extensive story mode to this to give us a lot of content and reasons to play. This is an arcade-style game, which arcade-style games can still be fun, but you mean to tell me that I'm going to pay all this money for it and can't even play by myself if I so choose? This could almost be a whole other video in itself, but in this day and age of gaming relying so much on online connectivity, sometimes forgets that not everybody lives in an area where reliable connectivity is an option. I know so many people who still live in an area that doesn't have good internet available to them, running off of cell phone towers and things like that that are not reliable for gaming. And sure, franchises like Grand Theft Auto, Fortnite, etc., they can get away with this because they are such big franchises that they can still make money if certain people like that cannot play their games. But for a franchise like Crash Crash Bandicoot, which has always been single player with the exception of the recent Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, Crash is not a huge franchise. It's big enough, yes, but unfortunately not big enough to get this big of a player base to get a game that relies on people constantly being online and playing. If that's what this game is launching as, then until they add single player or offline capabilities, it could be dead within a year. I know Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled didn't die off that fast, but it was a game fueled a lot by nostalgia, with the online capabilities and multiplayer just being an added bonus. And with as many upset Crash fans as I have seen over this game, I do not foresee it lasting anywhere near as long as Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled has, and that's extremely disappointing. We can't let Activision think we're okay with this, but I'm not saying never to buy this game. What I'm saying is don't buy this game until they make it worth our money. Don't let them trick you into paying an arm and a leg for a game that could be unplayable in a couple years if nothing changes. Don't let them charge extra for content that should have been present from the start. This is already a very bare bones game. These extra seasons and things should not cost extra money. Do not let them take advantage of us like this. And most importantly, don't let them send the Crash Bandicoot franchise down a path doomed for failure once again. Express your disconcern on their social medias, mention them on Twitter, on Instagram, let them know that we need more out of this game. And do not buy it until those features get added and make it a complete game worth that price point. Again, this game should be a free to play based on what they're giving us. And if it was free to play, then sure, add the microtransactions and I would be fine with paying for an additional season if I enjoy the game and wanted to pay for that. But I don't know that I'm going to enjoy a arcade-based game like this for $30 and then having to pay additional money for any more content than what they give us at the launch. So if you're at all questioning or on the fence about this game, then don't buy it until they add things to it to make it worth it for us. Because by purchasing this game, we're just telling them that it is okay for them to walk all over us like that, and that we're gonna pay money for a game up front and then spend additional money in microtransactions and all that other nonsense, and we cannot let them do that to Crash Bandicoot. The Crash Bandicoot franchise has been through enough. Leave Crash alone. But anyway, I am going to get off of my soapbox now. If you enjoyed this video, please tell me by hitting subscribe. I've been thinking about getting back into content making and would like to know that there's people interested in hearing what I have to say. So leave me a like, hit that subscribe button, and I will be back soon with more videos.